In 2018, Mark Zuckerberg was a sweaty robot crumbling before Congress. Now, he's a gold chain-wearing tech bro with Meta up 160%. How did he mastermind the greatest billionaire redemption? Or is it all a brilliant PR illusion? I've got the secret strategy that flips the script, and you won't believe what's really driving this insane comeback. Every story needs a compelling villain. For most of the 2010s, Mark Zuckerberg played that role perfectly, though not by choice. But his problems with public perception started long before Facebook made him a billionaire. As a Harvard student, he created FaceMash, a website that landed him in disciplinary trouble for using students' photos without consent. It was an early warning sign, both of his casual approach to personal data and his indifference to the consequences. Harvard let him continue his studies, unwittingly lending their credibility to what would become Facebook. Before the robot memes and congressional hearings, there was a different Mark Zuckerberg. Watch his 2004 interview when Facebook was still in its infancy.
Well, it's impossible to tell. When we first launched, we were hoping for, maybe 400, 500 people. Harvard didn't have a Facebook, so that's the gap that we were trying to fill. And now we're at 100,000 people, so who knows where we're going next.
This was Zuckerberg before the PR training, before he learned to hide his true opinions about the dumb fucks using his site. His apparent innocence, his boyish appearance, matched perfectly with early Facebook's image, just a genius prodigy building tools to connect people. The public had no idea they couldn't be trusted with their most intimate details. But this authenticity wouldn't last. Between the damning portrayal in The Social Network, the multi-million-dollar settlements with his former co-founders, and Facebook's meteoric rise, a different Zuckerberg would emerge. His signature look became almost a parody of Silicon Valley's success. Dark jeans and a grey t-shirt. His explanation? He didn't want to waste brain power on choosing clothes. But beneath this carefully constructed simplicity, something was changing. The more Zuckerberg tried to appear normal, the less human he seemed. By 2016, Facebook's profits were soaring, but so were the questions about its darker side. While Zuckerberg's company was making billions, concerns about data manipulation could no longer be ignored. When faced with even gentle questions about privacy, the facade began to crack. One infamous interview, a simple question about Facebook's privacy record, caused Zuckerberg to visibly melt down. Sweating profusely, he rambled,
What we wanted to do and what we wanted to spend, a big part of our lives doing was just continuing to push and kind of build products that help people share information, build products that help people stay connected.
The presenters joked about him taking off his hoodie, but the internet saw something more sinister. As one viewer noted, he's so nervous he starts sweating immediately when they start talking about privacy. This man is hiding a lot of things. Things only got worse. In another public appearance, Zuckerberg's attempt to appear human became an internet meme.
But it is going to bother you because you're human, and I was human. I am human, still. But I was just referring to myself in the past. Not that I was not human.
The comments were merciless. I don't know many humans who would make a small mistake like that and then so desperately feel the need to reassure their audience twice that it was just a mistake. Then came 2018, the year Facebook's facade finally cracked. Cambridge Analytica, a political data firm, had harvested over 50 million Facebook profiles. The whistleblower's revelation was damning. They weren't just collecting data, they were building models to exploit people's inner demons for political purposes. The FTC slapped Facebook with a $5 billion fine, the largest in history. But for Zuckerberg's empire, it was pocket change. What really hurt was what came next. Summoned before Congress, Zuckerberg's appearance became an internet spectacle. America watched a deeply uncomfortable man perched on a booster cushion, apparently trying to remember how humans blink.
How do you sustain a business model in which users don't pay for your service?
Senator, we run ads.
The questions were softball, with senators displaying an almost comedic lack of technical understanding. But the internet wasn't laughing with Zuckerberg, they were laughing at him. Every awkward sip of water looked like someone trying to replicate behavior they'd only observed. When a senator asked if he'd share which hotel he was staying at, Zuckerberg's response dripped with irony.
Yes, Senator, I think everyone should have control over how their information is used.
The public wasn't buying it.
And what Zuckerberg's quote that I read recently, that what's good for the world is not necessarily good for Facebook. I'm like, that's it. Shut it down.
He said that?
Yep.
Wow,
It's over.
dog.
Burn it to the ground.
Yeah, that's
Pull out, pull out, pull out.
The backlash was swift. Hashtag delete Facebook began trending on Twitter. For a man who'd spent years crafting his image, even through a Hollywood movie, it was back to square one. Facebook could afford the fines, but the humiliation? That would last forever. In 2017, Zuckerberg's Facebook feed transformed. He replaced the corporate updates with carefully staged photos with military generals and NASCAR drivers. Each post looked like a campaign stop, leading to speculation about a presidential run. The strategy was clear: position himself as a world leader rather than a tech CEO. But the calculated nature of each appearance only reinforced what critics had been saying. Everything about Zuckerberg seemed programmed. Behind the scenes, Facebook quietly launched Project Amplify, systematically pushing positive stories about the company and its CEO to the front of their platform. Millions were poured into charities, with each donation carefully publicized. But when you're worth billions, even massive philanthropic gestures can seem calculated. While Bezos donned cowboy hats and Musk courted controversy, Zuckerberg tried to engineer authenticity. The result was someone else entirely.
Yeah, someone asked me, do I smoke meat? Smoking these meats. Smoking meats earlier in the day. Smoking these meats, just set the charcoal up and you set the wood chips up, and then smoking meats.
The video, meant to show Zuckerberg as a relatable, everyday American, became instant meme fodder. Every repeated phrase, every awkward pause seemed to confirm what people suspected. Here was someone trying to simulate normal human behavior. As criticism mounted, Zuckerberg tried another approach: contrition. He appeared before Congress, apologized in media interviews, and promised change. But the apologies started to sound familiar.
In 2003, Zuckerberg apologized in the Harvard Crimson. 3 years later, Zuckerberg said Facebook, quote, really messed this one up.
Zuckerberg apologized once again in 2007.
Each scandal brought a new apology. Each apology seemed less sincere than the last. The harder Zuckerberg tried to seem normal, the more artificial he appeared. By 2021, it was clear traditional PR strategies weren't working. Facebook's trustworthiness had hit rock bottom and its CEO had become a punchline. Something had to change, but no one expected what came next. In 2020, as Facebook's reputation lay in tatters, Peter Thiel sent Zuckerberg an email that would change everything. For those who don't know, Thiel is one of Silicon Valley's most powerful figures. He co-founded PayPal, placed the first bet on Facebook when nobody else would, and built Palantir, the secretive data mining company that works with governments worldwide. The exchange, later disclosed in a Tennessee lawsuit, began on December 31, 2019. Thiel argued that Zuckerberg had been cast as the spokesman for the millennial generation, and was now the single person who gives voice to the hopes and fears and the unique experiences of this generation, at least in the US. As the head of the most successful millennial tech company, Thiel wrote, it makes more sense for Zuckerberg to present himself as millennial spokesperson rather than mark as a baby boomer construct of how a well-behaved millennial is supposed to act. The message was clear. Stop acting like a baby boomer construct of how a well-behaved millennial is supposed to act, and embrace your role as the voice of your generation. Zuckerberg's response, sent January 4th, revealed his strategic mindset. This is likely particularly important for how I show up because I'm the most well-known person of my generation. It's something I'm definitely going to think about more in terms of how I communicate. What followed wasn't just a makeover, it was a complete strategic reinvention. The irony? To become more authentic, every aspect had to be carefully engineered. The strategy was methodically precise. Zuck discarded the infamous grey t-shirts, which ironically were 300-pound Brunello Cucinelli pieces carefully chosen to look cheap. In their place emerged what image consultants call loud luxury. Alexander McQueen designs, Yeezy-esque sweatshirts, and custom shirts with Latin battle cries. There he stands, wearing Ot Zuck Ot Nihel, a Caesar or nothing, while announcing Meta's plans to dominate the future of human communication. Instead of courting mainstream media, Zuckerberg opted for friendly podcast appearances where he could control the narrative. He showcased a more conventional masculinity through MMA training, displaying his wealth openly instead of hiding it behind a facade of simplicity, and most importantly, stopped apologizing.
I don't apologize anymore.
Every aspect of his appearance was meticulously reimagined. The monk-like haircut grew into Gen Z curls. Gold chains appeared, some gifted by T-Pain. A UFC-trained physique emerged from countless hours of training. The internet noticed. Went from steal my data to steal your wife and kids, one commenter posted. When someone doctored his photo with a beard, even that went viral. But perhaps the most telling was his July 4th video, wakeboarding in a tuxedo holding the American flag set to Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA. When gaming influencer @StoneMountain54 commented, "Now that's content," Zuckerberg's response was perfectly calibrated. This wasn't about fitting in anymore. It was about owning who he was. Behind Zuckerberg's transformation lay something more calculated than just a wardrobe change, a sophisticated PR framework codenamed Race. Each move, each post, each public appearance was orchestrated around 4 key principles. Reach. In 2018, Facebook's trustworthiness hit a rock bottom at 27%. Zuckerberg's solution wasn't to win everyone over, it was to capture a specific demographic. By positioning himself as the voice of millennials, he expanded Meta's reach beyond social media users to future-focused tech enthusiasts. He couldn't be everyone's hero, but he could be theirs. Act. The Meta rebrand wasn't just a name change, it was a complete system reboot. New company policies, massive investments in AR and VR, personal image overhaul, corporate restructuring. Each action was calculated to distance the company from past scandals while signaling a shift towards future tech. Convert. The goal wasn't just to be liked, it was to transform critics into advocates. The strategy? Improve privacy controls, launch innovative products like Quest 3 Pro, handle the 2024 elections responsibly, open source AI development. From 27% trustworthiness in 2018 to 68% in 2024, the numbers tell the story. Engage. This is where Zuckerberg truly excelled. Every move generated conversation. Hydrofoiling in a tuxedo, MMA training videos, Latin battle cry t-shirts, podcast appearances with Joe Rogan and Lex Friedman. The result? A PR turnaround for the history books. Next time you see Zuck in a tux on a hydrofoil, remember, it's not just a billionaire having fun, it's years of careful image crafting paying off. But the transformation extended beyond aesthetics. As the internet obsessed over Zuckerberg's gold chains and UFC matches, he was orchestrating what Wall Street would call the fastest turnaround in corporate history. The transformation wasn't just personal, it was ruthlessly corporate. In 2022, as tech companies clung to their bloated workforces, Zuckerberg made a move that shocked Silicon Valley's traditionally soft culture.
You don't see companies at this scale with that agility. And what we heard last night was a significant change, and I think it's really important to understand that Mark said this isn't one and done.
The numbers were staggering. Meta's workforce dropped from 87,000 to 67,000, a 22% reduction. But unlike Twitter's chaotic layoffs under Musk, Zuckerberg's cuts were surgical, methodical, almost clinical.
You know, somebody's saying to me, how long does it take you to you buy a new house, get it together, it takes you like 9 months to feel comfortable, whatever. It's like, This guy reorganized an entire company in 3 months. It's unbelievable what Zuckerberg did, and we continue to see the impact from it.
But layoffs were just the beginning. As other tech giants were talking about AI, Zuckerberg was quietly preparing for war.
We were constrained on basically the infrastructure that we had to catch up to what TikTok was doing as quickly as we would have wanted to. So I basically looked at that and I was like, hey, we have to make sure that we're never in this situation again. So let's order enough GPUs to do what we need to do on Reels and ranking content and feed, but let's double that.
This decision would prove prophetic. When AI exploded in 2023 and GPU prices soared, Meta was already armed with a massive stockpile. Meanwhile, Google cautiously tests AI in beta and Apple remains silent, Meta is deploying AI tools to billions of users. The market's response was unprecedented. Meta's stock soared 160% in 5 years. Then came the cherry on top, Meta's first ever dividend.
It's a turnaround for the ages. I mean, the comeback kid Zuckerberg, go back a year and a half ago and now you're doing a dividend.
The same investors who once criticized Meta's excessive spending were now praising its capital discipline and shareholder friendliness. As we fixate on his gold chains and jiu-jitsu medals, Meta is quietly shaping the future of human interaction. Meta's latest glasses, Orion, aren't just about overlaying digital content onto the physical world. As demonstrated by college students who reverse-engineered similar technology,
we built glasses that let you identify anybody on the street.
To use it, you just put the glasses on, then as you walk by people, the glasses will detect when somebody's face is in frame. This photo is used to analyze them, and after a few seconds, their personal information pops up on your phone.
Right? This is me volunteering.
June Lee, right?
Yeah. Oh my god.
This
photo was great. This is like from
You're from Bergen County Academies?
Yeah.
Your Korean name is Ju-eun?
If 2 college students can create this, imagine what Meta's billions can accomplish. This technology could fundamentally alter how humans interact or surveil each other. The parallels between Meta's corporate evolution and Zuckerberg's personal transformation are striking. Both shed their apologetic past for a more aggressive, unapologetic future. Both swapped careful compromise for bold action, and both might be one misstep away from disaster. As one analyst noted,
I don't think it's any surprise or it's any coincidence that he's taken up MMA as he's been able to take punches in the business world and sort of respond to them. I think those two are pretty linked. And what Zuckerberg is trying to show himself and show the world is that he can, effectively take one to the chin, but continue to compete.
In the end, Zuckerberg's greatest trick wasn't convincing us he was human, it was making us stop asking if he was. While Zuckerberg engineered his transformation from robot to relatable tech bro, another tech titan walked a similar path decades earlier. Click here to watch the rise and fall of Bill Gates and discover how Microsoft's founder went from America's most beloved entrepreneur to its most controversial billionaire and back again. The parallels might surprise you. I'll see you there.